Good morning, everybody. Now we're going to learn something about making broth. Now, I know you can get it at the grocery store. You can get it even in a reduced sodium at the store. But even reduced sodium is way too high for a person with heart disease or Meniere's disease. So you can actually make it at home. There's a variety of ways to do it, and there's a variety of ways of kneading the broth. Now I need broth because I want to make baked beans, and I want to make pea soup. I want to make other regular soups, and sometimes it's very tasty to use it in your mashed potatoes as well. It gives it just that little extra flavor in there. So there's hundreds of other uses for that. You can make a gravy out of it. Man, the sky's the limit pretty much of what you can do with broth. So there's two methods, and the first method we're going to use is doing it from bones and skins of the animal that gave us the meat. Now this is what they call a crock pot, and as you can see, it has settings on here from keep warm, low, and high. And what it really is like a little oven, miniaturized, and it cooks things slower. Now, this is a crock right here, and we're going to put our stock in there, and then we're going to put water and just a little bit of onion powder in there. Sometimes I'll also put some of our no-salt chicken broth or beef broth in it, but I think we're going to get a good broth with what we have, so we don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to reach over here, and we'll put it in the bag here because there is some condensation on it this morning. And let me just open this bag. Now the stock we're using today is turkey. It's been in the freezer because sometimes you can't make broth that same day that you cook the turkey. So it's very all right to stick it in a bag as long as it has no holes and it's perfectly clean, because you want everything clean because you do not want transference of bacteria. So let's just slowly take our bones and meat out of here. And you see I got skins on those bones. We got a little of everything. So that will cook up as a great broth. Now, we're actually going to just throw this in here. That's our garbage. I'll clear the garbage out. And see, I got a little bit of blood on my hands. Just a little bit. So we have to wash that off because that can cause problems in the food preparation because it's poultry. So hold on. Okay, our hands. Yep, I'm taping. Hi, Dad. Good morning. Good morning. Now we have our stuff in there. We've got clean hands in which to work again. Now we're just going to put in here just a little bit of this onion powder. And you could use leeks. You could use straight up onions, garlic. Pretty much is to your seasoning, to your taste. I like things a little spicier than Dad does, so I kind of try to go middle of the road. That way we're both happy with what we get. Okay, now we have to add our water. Now the water for most people can come right from your tap, and ours, we don't do it from the tap for my purposes because we use a water softener, and there's a boatload of salt that's used to soften it. it's supposed to be safe, but sometimes for some people, no matter how low that salt is, it's still a problem. So we got well water. We have our own private well, as I told you before. So we use that. Now, we're just going to pick this up. And we're going to pour the water in. We're going to pour it about 3/4 full. Now you don't want it all the way full. If you pour it all the way full, the juices from the meat and the skin have no place to go. And then you just boil right over. We don't want that. So what you do then is you just put your cover on top. I have already plugged it into my access port here on the table. And I'm going to put this a little more on the table now. And normally I would do low on a lot of projects. But see, we want this broth made by lunch. And then after it's all made, then we want it cold so that I can freeze it for the time that I'm going to actually need it, which would be in the next few weeks. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually put it on high, and that will get it done by noon. So that is what we have to do with that type. Now we're going to come over here, and lucky for us, we have 2 nice pieces of meat. These are called beef roasts. This is a sirloin tip beef roast. Now, there's a lot of different roasts, and the reason why they're roast is because they need to be slow cooked, and the slower, the more tender they are. So we have another feature that we can do, and we need broth, and we have this beautiful meat. So you can actually make broth out of the meat that you're using. So we'll get our oven on, and we want it on about 225. Because again, we want it to cook real slow. See, 225. And I always double check, make sure we don't have anything in there. Once in a while you do. And then you end up with cooked equipment. And now we are going to be using my new pans. These are silicone coated ceramic pans with that specialty coating. We do not have to spray it. They don't want you spraying it because that will cause problems. Now, with this type, we could cook this in the crock pot and get broth out of it, and you'd have to do it twice. Now, because we want time, we've got 2 pots here. We got a big oven, so we make a modified one with these oven bags, Reynolds oven bags, and they work very nice. And let's just get the package opened here. Now we got 1 bag for there, 1 bag for there, and then we have these ties. I'll show you them in a minute here. Okay, we got all that we need, so we can stick this back in the drawer. We don't need it out anymore. We need a knife to poke holes in the bag. All right, now we'll open this bag up. It's a bag that's specially made for the oven. You can't use just any bag in the oven, otherwise the bags will melt, and then you got plastic in your meat and you can't eat it. Now, we have a situation here with this meat, and that is Dad has trouble chewing certain types of foods because he's got arthritis in his jaw. So you can eat this beef like you would a piece of steak. You can thinly slice it and make it similar to roast beef sandwiches. We can put it through the food processor and make barbecue beef and mix it with barbecue sauce and have barbecue beef sandwich, or you could have it just as beef barbecue all shredded up on your plate. You also can take it and run it through my meat grinder, and if you do that, then you're going to get hash. And in order to get hash, you have to mix it with onion or garlic or leek and potatoes. So, I mean, there's a variety of ways of eating a beef roast. And you try real hard not to waste any of this stuff because it is $3.49 a pound. So you have to be very careful. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of this meat, open it up, and put it in the bag. Then we're going to do the same with the other. And so you hold right there, and you're going to see me do it here. Maybe I better put you here. Maybe that'll give us a better chance of you seeing what we're doing. Okay. Now, I usually set it in here because there's going to be juices coming out. Now, let's get the other one in. And because there's condensation in this bag, there's probably germs in there too, so you can't reuse this bag for anything. So you put it in here. And I always store my stuff that I'm going to have meat and cook it later in a bag because you don't want the blood to accidentally leak out onto your refrigerator. Just extra busy work. And if you're like most people, you're too busy for busy work. So now we got to make sure we get all this padding taken off. And we got, you won't believe it, it's still just a bit frozen. So we're going to have a little longer time of it today for cooking. But that's okay. We've got all day. And we want it to slow cook anyway. Yep, this one's a little bit frozen too. Well, they won't be frozen for long in the refrigerator, in the oven here. So we'll get that here. And then there again, I got blood on my hands. So we're going to wash them off. Just for food safety purposes. And not to mention, it's a little gruesome to have blood on your hands. But it is part of food prep. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay, now what we got to do is we're going to take the same ingredients that we had before and we're going to measure out. I'm not a big person on measuring. I'm an old-fashioned cook in actuality, so I just put in here what I think I might want in there. That's about a tablespoon in there. So we just sprinkle it all through. We're going to do the same on the other side. Okay, now we are completely done with that, so I'm going to stick it back in my cupboard. Okay, now, see, we got a nice sized bag here. And we can put water in this. We want it in there for two reasons. We don't want the meat to dry, and we need it to help induce some broth to come out. You can also use a food injector, and I have one, and to make the meat more tender. And I would have done this with these products today, except for the fact I'm running them through the food processor and through the grinder. And they need a certain amount of firmness in order to use those products. So if you have something that's so limp that it falls apart, it's no good to you. So we're not going to do the food injector, but we'll do that at some other future time. And we need to have residual broth. And we also know as this meat cooks, it's going to get much smaller, and it's also going to produce juice because as you can see on some of this here, let me just point it out. Good. This white stuff here and here and all around here and a little bit there, that's what they call fat, and that's called marbleized fat. And a lot of people love that because you get moisture from the fat and that type of thing. And fat is good. We all need it in our diet. But you don't want an overabundance of it, because if you get too much of it in there, you're going to clog your arteries and then poof, you're sick. So anyway, let's just pour some water in here. And again, I don't precisely measure it. We're going to you can fill this bag up pretty good. Let's take a look. Okay, we could have just a smidge more in there, not a lot, but a smidge. And it's okay that the seasoning's in the water. It's going to boil into the water anyway. So we're going to pour it into here also. Let me just set the camera down here a minute so my bag don't fall over on you. There we go. Okay, now we're just going to pour that in. You see, you don't have to be fancy about it. There, that looks like a good amount in there. It's about halfway up that meat, because we don't want it to boil dry on us. And as I say, we don't want it to take a million years to come to a boil neither. Okay, now, as you can see, I'll let you see a good shot of it in the bag, in the water. And you can see our seasonings dissolving into it. And this one here too. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our twist ties, and they are right here. And these twist ties are special made for being in the oven. They will not burn. And you have absolutely no problem with them being in there. Now what we have to do is we have to cinch this sack up. We're going to pull it to its full height. See, we got it to its full height. And we're going to cinch that top off. And then we're going to wrap the tie around it. We're going to do it on both of them. We'll put this camera kind of like that. I think I should have probably brought my tripod up, but all right. And you just slick it in there, and it's self-tying. You want it fairly tight. See, we got a nice tight seal. Now, if you leave this bag in there and it cooks, this bag will explode in your oven, because you're going to have a lot of back pressure of air and juices boiling here. So we don't want that. So you poke holes in there. This is a relief valve. We actually have a relief valve on the crock pot too. We don't want that exploding. So I put in about 3 to 4 holes per bag. Now you can watch me do it here again. We're going to pull this bag up. We're going to cinch it at the top. And you can do any kind of meat this way. It's a very nice way of doing meat. I've never done hamburger or something like in that nature, but there'd be really no reason why you couldn't. Okay. And now we put the holes in. Okay. Now, we don't really have to worry about a oven problem here. All we have to do is open up our oven door, and you can see we're at the right temperature. On the indicator says we are ready. We're not preheating no more. And we can just stick each one. They're going to be heavy with all that liquid in there. And we just slide it in. And we take this one and we slide her in. And then at lunchtime, we'll see how it's progressing. If it's progressing real well and we know it's going to be done for sure by supper time, well, we won't jack up the oven. But if we know it's not going to make it on time, then we'll maybe jack up the oven to 300. But we have to keep a close eye on it when you do that, because then it cooks too quickly. It dries out, and then all you got is charred remains, or pretty close to charred remains. And now here is the relief valve that's on the crock pot. See it? There you go. And that is really quite nice to have, because then you don't have to worry about this exploding on us. And our crock is pretty warm to the touch already, so it's a coming. And that's the end of the video for right now, and we'll go over the rest of it when it comes time.